Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to make a presentation of opportunistic screening of ametropia and embryogenic factors in children using Bruckner test in the hands of pediatrician. I have no financial conflict in this presentation, and this research was approved by Institutional Review Board. It was a thesis topic of one of our pediatric residents. Opportunistic screening is basically early detection of a disease or its risk factor in people who present to healthcare providers for various other complaints. So it's an additional test and an voluntary test offered by healthcare providers for common diseases. For example, when we check intraocular pressure for a patient who comes for presbyopia correction, or when a sonographer looks at fatty liver screening on routine abdominal ultrasound. Its advantages are, number one, it's highly cost effective in comparison with the population based screening. It can significantly reduce the disease load by detection of undiagnosed pathology. And of course, it tends to create better physician patient relationship. There are WHO criteria based on which you can decide which disease is amenable for such kind of opportunistic screening and which test could be useful for performing this opportunistic screening. Ametropia and embryogenic factors in children do satisfy this criteria because it has a prevalence of at least 5%, raising up to 20 or even 30%. More than 50% of these ametropic or embryopic factors tend to remain undiagnosed in children. It can be effectively treated with optical correction and or patching, especially if detected in time. And it has a very high impact on improvement of quality of life by restoring vision as well as binocular fusion. In fact, it's one of the most cost-effective intervention across the world in medical sciences. And the test which is amenable for use as a screening test for this disease has to be a simple yet rapid test such as a Bruckner test. It can be easily learnt by the pediatrician as well as pediatric residents and pediatric ophthalmology fellows. It has a high sensitivity and negative predictive value. So the aim of our study was to assess the validity of performing the Bruckner test, or in other words, the red reflect test for the screening of refractive errors and embryogenic factors in a pediatric OPD. We included children coming to a pediatric OPD of a corporate general hospital in Thane who were not sick, cooperative enough, and were aged between 1 and 16 years of age. And the methods used were, number one, the pediatric resident performed the Bruckner test, followed by a pediatric ophthalmology fellow who performed the same test in the same manner, followed by Plus Optics S12 Vision Screener, which is a machine-based photo screening using the same principles. And finally, the gold standard was pediatric optometrist who performed cycloplegic refraction and the evaluation of the patient. American Academy of Ophthalmology endorses routine red reflex test. And as you see on the right side, this is how the Bruckner test is used to find out presence of ametropia in children. The inferior bright crescent means myopia, superior bright crescent reaching to the center of the pupil means hypermetropia, and decenter crescents, as you see in the lower panels, are astigmatisms. S12 vision screener is used at a particular distance, as you see over here, and it comes out with the report of referral or no referral. The standard of referral is based on American Academy of Ophthalmology S12 vision referral criteria, which are age specific and the type of error specific. And the criteria for referral using the Bruckner test are relatively lower threshold criteria, as you see over here, with myopia of more than 1 diopter, astigmatism of 1.5 diopter, hypermetropia of more than 1 diopter, and anisometropia of more than 1 diopter need to be referred. Pass and fail criteria also includes presence of squint more than 8 PD is failed in the test, and media opacity of 1.5 or more millimeter in the visual axis also calls for referral for eye checkup. We had 120 patients, exactly 10% of the attendings during the study period. Mean age of the children recruited was 5.2 years, of which 50% were boys. And out of 120 children, 35 were found to have an abnormality, which is a very high prevalence of ocular disease in a pediatric setup. Pediatric resident could identify 31 out of those 35 children. Pediatric ophthalmology fellow could identify 29 out of those 35, and S12 vision screener could identify 30. This is the comparison of performance of this Bruckner test between pediatric resident, pediatric ophthalmology fellow, and the photo screener. And as you see over here, the sensitivity and negative predictive value were the highest in the hands of pediatric resident, but the specificity and predictive positive value was significantly low, reducing the accuracy in hands of the pediatric resident. The cause of low specificity and positive predictive value was because of lack of accommodation, because most of pseudomyopes were falsely diagnosed as being a referral or fail. And as you see over here, once you improve the fixation target for distance or quantify the astigmatism.
Dr. Mir, your time is up. Please sum up.
Yes, sir. And the limitation of the study is the lack of data on how it will improve the positive predictive value as well as the specificity in the hands of pediatric resident. So my conclusion is the Bruckner test is a useful and simple test for the opportunistic screening of children attending the pediatrician's office in the hands of pediatrician and pediatric resident. It has a high sensitivity and negative predictive value. False positives can be reduced by distance fixation target and better training. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mir. It was a wonderful presentation. I think you can unshare your screen, lower your hand, and judges are requested for their questions. Any questions from the judges? No question. I think it was a foolproof presentation, probably. Anybody? Yes, you can unmute yourself. Yeah. We are not getting you. Tanak Chalji, you want to say something? You are not audible, sir. You are not audible.
Hello.
Yeah. Now you are audible. Yeah.
Just for curiosity's sake, you what is the pattern of reflex you see in strabismic cases? Strabismus. You said ametropia, you got different pattern, crescent, upper, and what about in strabismic?
I'm really sorry, I'm not able to hear you, sir.
You can repeat. Yeah, repeat the question, please.
Hello. In a Bruckner test, you said that is different patterns in ametropics, anisometropias, isn't it? So what about the patterns you observe usually in strabismic pattern, strabismus? Squint.
Marathe sir, can you please repeat his question? I'm not able to hear, sir.
Please loudly, sir. Loudly. Yeah.
So you said in ametropias, hello, in anisometropia, you said with the Bruckner's test, you have different patterns like a crescent shaped inferior and superior crescent.
Yes,
what about in strabismus?
So in strabismus, there is only leakage of the light. You will find the eye which is misaligned will have significantly increased illumination in the red reflex. Whether it is ESO or exo or hyper or hypo, you will be able to pick it up because the light leaks out of it. And there is an optical principle behind it, which is confirmed by the beam splitter ophthalmoscopy. So you won't get any specific pattern for type of strabismus. Of course, torsional strabismus cannot be picked up using Bruckner test, only the vertical and horizontal or diagonals.
What about in mixed pattern with anisometropia and strabismus together in a mixer?
So anisometropia can be picked up by looking at the type of light reflex. If patient has inferior crescent, it's a myopic eye. If there is a superior crescent, it's a hypermetropic eye. And when you go close to the patient, In anisometropic patient, you will find a significant change in the reflex. But in a patient who has strabismus, while you are performing Bruckner test, you reduce the distance and go close to the patient's eyes, you will find no change in the reflex. So you can differentiate.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mir, for the wonderful
Sir, can I
presentation.
ask one question, sir?
Of course, sir.
Thank you.
Subhashi, sir. You are welcome, sir.
Okay, that is a wonderful presentation, actually quite new also. I had one question like, is there any threshold value of the ametropia that can increase the sensitivity or specificity of this test? Did you find ametropia up to a certain value being picked up easily or can be picked up easily?
So when we looked at the data of false positives, we found it was primarily the pseudomyopia which was causing lack of ability to differentiate it from the negatives. We were diagnosing them as having positives. So it was not the threshold value in that segment. In the second segment where we had false positives was astigmatism. So if you increase your threshold for astigmatism to 2 diopter or more, you will be able to pick up less false positives. So decentration of the reflex by more than 1 clock hour was our criteria for referral. But if you say 2 clock hours or more of decentration as the referral criteria, which means probably there is a higher obliqueness of the astigmatism or there is higher magnitude of astigmatism, you could probably improve your false positivity rates.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr.